I've got my hat, got my souvenir postcard, and I'm all ready for my Mafia tour. But is meeting the son of a notorious Don taking things a bit too far? Hello and welcome to the Travel Show with me, Crystal Larwood, coming this week from the beautiful island of Sicily off the southern coast of Italy. Now, most people who come here are aware of the island's long association with that nefarious organisation, the Mafia. There are even tours for people who want to know more, but these are proving controversial. More of that in a moment, but for now, let's see what else is coming up on this week's programme.
Final try, up and away.
Ben Zand heads to Berlin to visit a world-famous and historical airport, which has now been turned over to Berliners. And Simon Calder, our global guru, is here to tell you where you can find guaranteed sun and no rain next year. But first... Sicily is one of Italy's most beautiful islands, known for its popular beaches and ancient ruins. But it's also known for its association with one of the most powerful organised crime syndicates in the world, the Mafia. The organisation is known locally as the Cosa Nostra, or Our Thing, with a history of larceny, blackmail and murder stretching back over 150 years.
Now this might sound very exciting for outsiders with visions inspired by gangster movies of shootouts and intrigue, but for the people of Sicily, it's an everyday reality.
Today, after decades of crackdowns, many of Sicily's big mob bosses are behind bars, but the organisation still exerts a wide influence on the island, from high-level political corruption to petty extortion rackets. In recent years, Sicilians have made efforts to rebuff the Mafia influence, and one sector that's helping to lead the fight is tourism.
We called this tour No Mafia, Palermo No Mafia, because we would like to give you a different perspective, a different idea of what the Mafia really is, and a different idea of what Sicily and the Sicilians are doing against the Mafia.
This walking tour in Palermo is run by an organisation called Addio Pizzo, translating as Bye Bye Protection Money. The tour only visits shops that have declared they would defy the Mafia and not pay the money.
Let's go inside now? Yes.
One such shop is La Coppola Storta, which specialises in creating the traditional coppola flat caps that have become synonymous with the mafiosa.
It is important to explain to the people that coppola is a new symbol. It's not symbol of mafia, it's symbol of new Sicily, and Sicily have many things to offer to the world.
Not just the Mafia.
No.
Tindera's shop was one of the around 100 businesses that helped the anti-Pizzo movement take off back in 2006, and the number participating has now increased to over 1,000 across Sicily. They advertise their defiance with a sticker in the front window.
This is the difference. When you are alone, is difficult, and you are afraid to go against mafia. When we make all the same things together, is different. Together we can fight mafia. It's possible. All is possible.
While there are many like Tindera who are keen to present a fresh image of Sicily to tourists, it's clear that the old clichés still hold fast.
It's interesting having a look at all of these souvenirs. There is a common theme, and that's the Mafia. It's easy to see how for some tourists the Mafia has come to be a symbol of Sicily.
Many people around the world are familiar with the Mafia, and they know it's because of The Godfather, you know, the Goodfellas and all those movies who pictured actually a pretty fashionable Mafia. We want to show the people who have a tour with us that the Mafia is a terrible organization that keep killing people that have no code of honor. They don't care if they need to kill children or women, they do it without any problem.
Eduardo also believes that some tours help to reinforce the mystique of the mafia for tourists.
There are some tour operators who exploit the reputation of the mafia just for business. They are not helping the people to understand how different is Sicily.
One particularly controversial tour was recently launched by Boston-based Overseas Adventure Travel. It includes a visit with Angelo Provenzano, the son of a famous mafia kingpin, Bernardo Provenzano, who is currently serving a life sentence for a string of murders. We approached the company for an interview and received no comment. The new tour provoked outrage among anti-mafia groups and among the families of mafia victims. I met former Senator Pina Maisano Grassi, whose husband Libero was killed by the mafia in 1991.
I remember hearing 2 gunshots. Then a man came to the door and said, "Is your husband at home?" I knew then that he'd been killed. I sat down on the front steps and thought, what now?
Pina has been active in the anti-mafia movement and strongly disapproves of tours that romanticise the image of the Sicilian gangster.
It's totally ignorant. You can't give the impression that the mafia is part of our folklore. It isn't part of our folklore. The mafia has killed a whole load of people, has done so much to damage our economy, our country, an incalculable damage.
Despite the controversy, it's clear that many in Sicily are prepared to promote the island's mafia associations if it means drawing in more tourists. That's the reality today, but perhaps one day, when tourists think of Sicily, it won't be a romantic idea of the mafia that comes to mind, but instead a story of a brave grassroots movement that fought back against their oppressors and won.
And if you're thinking of heading to Sicily anytime soon, here are our travel show tips for making the most out of your time here.
Driving yourself around Sicily will give you the opportunity to see some of the more rural areas independently. But keep in mind that traffic can be chaotic, particularly in city centres where many streets are narrow and have double parked cars. Hire a small car, as even the country roads are quite constricted with sharp bends. If you want an alternative to a beach holiday and are looking to be more active, Sicily's got a wide variety of landscapes that you can take a stroll through: coastal trails, vineyards, small farms and villages. For many, the architecture in Sicily is reason enough for a trip, with styles ranging from Greek to Roman to Norman. Many of the larger sites cost money to visit, but walk around the cities and you'll stumble across many beautiful old buildings for free. Ever wanted to climb an active volcano? Why not try the biggest in Europe, Mount Etna? Make sure you take notice of any warnings before attempting to reach the summit. It's easiest to go up in summer, but take good shoes and glasses to keep the flying grit out of your eyes.
Time now to find out what else is going on around the world. Here's your travel update.
We start this week off on the West African coast, where a rare hurricane has hit the holiday island of Cape Verde. All flights to and from the island were cancelled earlier this week as heavy rain and winds lashed northwestern islands in the archipelago. The last hurricane ever recorded hitting Cape Verde was over 100 years ago. There's a warning if you're travelling to India after a record number of dengue fever cases were reported in New Delhi. Months of heavy monsoon rains have been blamed for spreading the mosquito-borne tropical viral disease that causes sudden fever, muscle and joint pain.
This is not reached to such level that it should be called an epidemic. It is due to seasonal variation. There is an increase in number of cases due to rainy season. So it is just like that, but it is very much under control, nothing to panic.
If you're heading there, you're advised to take plenty of mosquito repellent and netting. A cruise with a difference kicked off this week. It's the world's longest ocean race, which set off from St Catherine Docks in central London. 12 teams will race in the 10th Clipper Round the World Yacht Race, which covers a staggering 40,000 miles.
The wind is very favourable to get them out down the channel, which I'm very pleased about. I like them clear of the crowded shipping lanes, particularly around Dover. The wind's good for that, so they should have a fairly easy sail down beyond Dungeness and Beachy Head.
Only the skipper of each boat is professional. The rest of the crew are amateurs. It's seen as one of today's great tests of human endurance. Finally, if you're heading to Mexico this week, it might be worth dropping into the city of Pachuca, where artists have spent the last 14 months painting hundreds of homes in the Las Palmitas neighbourhood to create a giant rainbow mural, as these amazing pictures show.
Still to come on this week's travel show.
We're in Berlin, a year on since one of its hotly contested landmarks was won by its people.
It may be an abandoned airport, but this place is located right in the centre of the German capital with over 3.4 million people, making it one of the most sought-after locations in the whole of Berlin.
The Travel Show, your essential guide wherever you're heading.
Welcome to the slice of the show that tackles your questions about getting the best out of travel. Love is in the air with honeymoon advice sought. But first, in a dramatic untangling of red tape, India has added 36 new countries to its e-visa program, a move that should simplify the application process for many thousands of visitors every year. Citizens of the UK, US and Australia are among the 36 new nationalities who can obtain an e-tourist permit online for just $60. It's a fairly painless process and looks likely to trigger a surge in tourism to India. Next, Richard Johnson is getting married in June next year and is already planning the honeymoon.
My fiancée and I were thinking of going to Mexico, but we've been told this is the start of the hurricane season, and to avoid it. Is this true, and can you recommend anywhere tropical with white sandy beaches, high temperatures and no rainfall?
Congratulations on both your decision to wed and the timing. June is a great month in terms of getting good deals and avoiding the crowds. But as you suggest, one reason you'd avoid crowds in Mexico is because storm season usually begins in June and continues through to the start of November. So, if you want a tropical destination, my choice is the Seychelles, where June to September is the dry spell. But I can't guarantee no rainfall. If that's what your hearts are set on, then Egypt. Sinai Peninsula is the place where high temperatures are the order of the day and rain from June to August is unknown. Ryan McGregor and his wife are going west, first to Canada, then into the US.
We are visiting Vancouver Island and then we want to drive down the coast all the way to Los Angeles and fly back to the UK from there. Do I need to apply online for an ESTA?
No. Were you flying direct to the US, then you would need to apply online and pay for the privilege of the Electronic System for Travel Authorization, or ESTA for short. But the US Embassy in Ottawa says visitors to Canada who wish to travel on to the United States and who are citizens of countries included in the visa waiver program have only to present their passports at any US port of entry. So, you'll need to fill in a form at the border, but it should be a mere formality. Finally, James Butler is looking forward to his summer trip with some financial trepidation. He's off to visit family in Zurich, a famously expensive city made even more so with the uncoupling of the Swiss franc from the euro earlier this year, which saw the local currency soar.
Any tips for cheap activities with a young family?
According to a cost of living survey that appeared in June, Zurich is the most expensive city in Europe, and I've struggled to find anything that could be construed as a bargain, apart from the joy of wandering through this beautiful lakeside city. Aim for Berkeleyplatz, the quayside at the south of the city centre, where each Saturday a flea market provides free entertainment, as do the spectacular views across Lake Zurich to the Alps. To explore the region, the 9 o'clock pass is ideal, allowing unlimited exploration all day on trams, trains and boats on Lake Zurich for 78 Swiss francs for a family of 4. And for eating out, well, many family restaurants have a kids menu for around 10 Swiss francs. But frankly, when I take my young family to Switzerland, we eat a lot of picnics. Remember that Global Guru is the element of the travel show that aims to help with every aspect of your journey. Just email the travel show at bbc.com and I'll do my very best to find you an answer. From me, Simon Calder, the Global Guru, bye for now and see you next time.
And to end this week, we're off to Berlin. Now we're sitting with a cutting-edge vibe, but almost 70 years ago it sat on the front line of what was to become known as the Cold War, the standoff between East and West that lasted for decades. The city's iconic Tempelhof Airport played a key role in keeping the city alive, and even though it's now closed, the locals are fiercely protective over it, but perhaps now for different reasons, as Ben Zand found out.
When it comes to aviation history, there are certain airport names that resonate far beyond their location. Croydon Aerodrome in London and Le Bourget in Paris all played a big part in defining air travel in the 1930s. But Tempelhof was perhaps the most iconic. Originally built in 1927, when the Third Reich came to power, it was remodeled by Hitler's architects, who turned it into one of the largest buildings in the world at the time. And after the Allied victory, it helped keep Berliners alive, thanks to the famous airlift against the Soviet blockade in this part of the city. In short, there's a lot of history here, both dark and awe-inspiring. But what about its future?
Since its closure in 2008, the airfield and these huge runways have become the city's largest open space, a mecca for outdoor activities, everything from kite skating to rollerblading. It may be an abandoned airport, but this place is located right in the centre of the German capital with over 3.4 million people, making it one of the most sought-after locations in the whole of Berlin.
Its colossal hangars that curve out over 1,000 metres are now host to international conferences, trade shows, world-class music events and festivals.
I like it because it's being outdoors in a city.
It brings so many cultures together, and everyone in Berlin knows Tempelhof, everyone comes here.
This particular runway is actually really good. It allows you to have freedom and do whatever you like, rollerblade, longboard, walk.
The airfield here at Tempelhof is clearly unbelievable and something I've never seen before in my life. But what's more interesting about this place is its incredible history.
There are more than 9,000 rooms to be explored.
These buildings are very beautiful, but they're also very official and big.
That's right, monumental. And this is, again, a typical sign not only of Nazi architecture, but also of dictatorship.
So it's power, this is all
It's
about
power, it's suppressing or at least influencing people. This is the entrance door into the film bunker. What they did here was storing air photographs. And these air photographs, well, if you look at it closely, this was just spying material.
So how do tourists usually react when they come here?
Oh, most of them are really amazed. They don't expect a place like this here at all.
Famous as the lifeline for West Berlin during the Cold War, the airport remains an extremely valuable symbol of freedom to many Berliners. As a prime real estate, the airport has been under threat from city planners and politicians keen to turn it into a housing and commercial space.
But in May this year, after months of battling over its future, the community triumphed with over 180,000 votes to keep the impressive spaces of Tempelhof the way they are.
The conservation law brought in means the site will be developed with direct community involvement, but there are restrictions on what can be done here and new buildings are out of the question. Alexander Noskovsky voted in the referendum to keep Tempelhof as it is, along with his friends. He now runs kite skating classes on the site.
You have here the perfect place. It's really many space you have here for make a wind sport. Yeah, more and more people come here and check it out, see the kites in the air and say, wow, it's really cool, I like to do it also.
Kite skating is one of the most popular activities on the grounds of Tempelhof Airport, attracting tourists from around the world. And on such an open runway with as little chance of a collision as possible, I just had to give it a go.
Oh God, that was hard.
You enjoy?
You are a much more talented man than I thought you were. This really is my type of place. Outdoor craziness set in a location that sums up Berlin's history and its passion for freedom. And what makes it even nicer is that it was saved by the Berliners themselves.
But some critics say Berlin is in a desperate need of affordable housing, and Tempelhof, despite its historical value, would have solved the problem. But either way, the site belongs to the people of Berlin, for now.
Well, sadly, that's all we've got time for on this week's show. But if you want to keep up with us while we're out on the road in real time, you can sign up to our social media feeds. You probably know how that works by now, but if not, details are on the screen. Coming up next week.
Rajan heads off on a voyage of discovery to Myanmar, where he finds the people resilient, the history fascinating, and the scenery truly spectacular.
What an experience. Wow, it's actually quite an overcast grey day, but you come here and it's like it's brilliant sunshine because the reflection of the gold is just dazzling.
So do join us then if you can. But for now, from me, Krista Larwood, and the rest of the Travel Show team here in Sicily, it's arrivederci.